Last week I labeled the podcast The Opportunity, and what an opportunity it became. Nasdaq up more than 7%, Dow Jones up almost 5%. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I got into Nvidia at $88, and what a super choice that became. And it looks like Nvidia will just continue upwards today. In fact, my portfolio grew as hard as it hasn't done in a very long time. And you, my friend, you are listening to the StockInvest.us podcast, Trading Tips with Jim, as we head into week 16. Will it continue? Will it continue with upturn this week, or will this be a red week? I will try to tell you the best and the worst case scenario in my opinion. We will have a quick look at 8 stocks this week as well, with buy signals like we have done for the last few weeks. And of course, at the end, we will get to the $1,000 challenge, where we try to grow $1,000 as fast as we can. Last week, what a week. I did, over the many weeks lately, invest more and more into the market, expecting exactly what we saw, a total rebound upwards. And I was able to use the volatility. I expected huge volatility, so I got in early, out by the end of the day, and that way I did several intra-day trades as well, and not only increasing my general exposure into the market. Nvidia was one of the stocks which I traded. Nvidia fell down to about 86, I think it was low. I was able to pick up at 88. Got out around 99, got back in the day after around 94, then followed upwards, still sitting and raking in a nice huge profit in Nvidia. And with the tax exemptions or tariff exemptions for Nvidia, it looks like it will just keep pushing upwards this week. And this is the place where most people gain and lose money. You are taken by the fear, you end up selling at the bottom because you think it will go further down, and then it pushes upwards. This is one of the things that Warren Buffett aims a lot at when he talks with investors, that you have to be patient and you have to look at markets in a long perspective, and if possible try to use the dips to keep increasing your exposure. Always have 30% in cash, and I was actually much more than that in cash before we saw the fall. So when it happened, I was able to increase, and have been increased. Actually, last week I increased quite drastically my portion into the stock markets, getting a little bit high now because I'm already up at 85% invested in to the stock market. I'm looking actually to reduce a little bit, because I'm not sure we are done with the falls. Anyway, here are what I consider to the best case scenario for the week and the worst case scenario. Best case is that we will see more tariff exemptions. We will see all the tariff talks starts to settle, starts to turn into actuals, meaning that we will see negotiations with actual results, because these have been happening all last week and they will continue for sure this week. Several countries have agreed to what United States want, and I believe we will see much more of this, and meaning that the tariff thing soon will be a thing of the past. That's my opinion. Maybe a little prolonged with China, but in general the tariff thing is over. And when that is over and we had the fall that we had, there is a fair chance that Nasdaq will just continue to push upwards, markets will continue to push upwards, because all the major other indicators are doing what they were supposed to do. They are heading to better territory. That is inflation. Inflation came down. Now we expect it to go up because of the tariffs, but I don't believe that will be the case. Actually, I believe it will be more good inflation numbers coming in the future. My main argument for this, and that was the main argument when I said that inflation would skyrocket the last time so many years ago, my argument why inflation will continue downwards is mainly based on energy and oil. is at $61, have been falling steadily, and I think oil will continue further down. This week it might push a little up due to more optimism, but in general I think oil will continue downwards, driving energy prices down, and that should make for cheaper production of goods. There is a disruption with China, yes there is. There have to be more production inland in US, in Europe, but this is for the better. I'm not sure that these things will cause that much of inflation, and as I said, I am very certain that interest rates will go down. Anyway, you will live to see, and you can hold me by my word later if I'm wrong. Anyway, the best case scenario as I see it is that we have just a good week, good tariff things. Some of the quarter results, I'll get back to them, will come in on the better end, pushing Nasdaq at the very, very best case scenario all the way up to 19,000 points. I've seen this happen before. Will not be surprised if it happens at all. Currently we're sitting at 16,724 points, so that means another very, very green week. The worst case scenario, and that may be another case, is that the tariff things just continue. We know that the media like to hype these things because of the political polarization, so they hype it out of its context, and these things will just continue. So it will be taken out of the context, but it might also be that China will not back down, or they will go more aggressive. My bet is that China will back down, because this is a war they cannot win, and they are totally in need of the American consumer. Forget what is written about mainstream media about China can rely on Europe and everywhere else. It's not the case. It will not happen. And I'm pretty sure that during the week we will see exactly this come true, that China has to give concessions. But if they don't, this can cause for market to go red. And the Ukraine is again getting closer to maybe brokering a peace deal. But these things can falter. We know that countries like France, UK and the European Union management, the top management of EU, actually is more trigger happy than we want, and this can cause a total 180-degree turnover for Ukraine, that we can go from what seems to be a position getting into peace, where it turns much more aggressive. NATO wants more action, EU wants more action, France for sure wants more action. And given the political climate in Europe, it may actually be the case. We will see who wins. My bet is that the United States will have the last word. The United States wants peace, and I think that will be the happen. But worst case scenario is worst case scenario. The other thing, as I mentioned, is escalation with China over the tariffs, and then there is Iran, which can come up this week, because Iran continues their path towards nuclear weapon, and Iran said that they want to eliminate Israel out of the face of the earth, total demolition of Israel, and they can do so if they get into nuclear weapon. Israel will push United States for this not to happen, and Donald Trump actually said that he might be hard on Iran. We will see how these things play out, but if these things which I just mentioned come to fruition this week, Nasdaq can fall, in my opinion, back down to 15,000, because if you look at the long trend, the very good support is around 14,500, and the correction that we're in now is a natural 6-year cycle correction, happens every 2 and every 6 years, so this correction is nothing new, and it still may not be finished. Actually, I would put 80-20 on that we will see further downturn, but for the week ahead of us, I believe that we will see an upturn. Anyway, let's go to the quarter results. There will be quarter results this week, and some of them have the potential to move the market. Most of these are big banks. Goldman Sachs will come today. Expected earnings is 12.71 per share, going up from 11.58 last year. Goldman Sachs stocks are not expected to swing much. Around 4% swing is expected on the quarter results. But there will be Applied Digital, and Applied Digital is expected to move much more. It's expected to move plus minus 13% if it comes in with quarter results. They're expected a huge move in Applied if you get it correct. The expectations is that the negative earnings per share, which last year was 52 cents, will crawl down to only 11 cents. So they will still be in red, but expected to do much better. If this doesn't happen, well, there will be most likely a negative 13% swing in Applied Digital. If it comes in at the good end, you can expect a 14% almost on the positive side. Anyway, these are intraday swings, but huge volatility expected for Applied Digital on the quarter results. Tomorrow on Tuesday will be Johnson & Johnson. Not much expected there. Actually, they are expected to reduce their earnings per share a little bit by some 15 cents or something like this. Then there will be Bank of America, it will be Citigroup, and more interesting in my opinion will be Interactive Brokers, which is expected to have a strong almost 20% growth in their earnings per share from 164 to 191. Expected swing for the stock during the day is plus minus 3%. Wednesday will come with ASML, very interesting company there, and US Bancorp will also be on Wednesday. Thursday will continue with Taiwan Semiconductor, a lot of eyes will be on that stock for sure. United Healthcare will come, Netflix will come, and Netflix been a popular stock over the last quarter results because of huge movements. The expected movement this time is only 4% for the quarter results. It's expected that Nvidia will increase their earnings per share by around 10% to 574. So that's the number that you want to watch. Will they come in on consensus, above, below? Anyway, Netflix is expected to move a minimum of plus minus 4% on Thursday. American Express will be also on Thursday, and the rest of the companies are a little bit too small to mention in this podcast. So we had the worst case scenario, we had the best case scenarios, we had the quarter results. What about the buy and the sell signals across the board? As I told you, these were so low that I haven't seen so low. That was the main reason why I just bought as much as I could, and why I labeled last week podcast the opportunity. This week, across all the stocks we analyzed, 13% is having buy signals. At Nasdaq only 5%. It's still super low, and argue why we might see just a super week at Nasdaq again. New York Stock Exchange 16, London 10, Oslo, for the first time mentioned in this podcast. Oslo, I know a lot of you are Norwegian listeners. Very happy to have you. I'm Norwegian myself. Oslo, 9% buy signals. By the way, also heavily invested into the Oslo Stock Exchange in several different sectors. Trying to eke out the good dividend stocks, because Oslo and Norway has a lot of companies paying huge dividends. Frankfurt 10%, National Stock Exchange of India 24%, Tokyo 10%, and Shenzhen China 12%. Buy signals across all the board, these are very low, still signaling a good potential buy signals. They are Nasdaq is still in the fear, even Oslo is still in the fear category, but usually it moves up. All numbers are very low, which indicate again that we can expect huge volatility, a lot of up and down. Hard to say exactly how the week will go, because it will be pushed from one news to the other, or one impulse from the one to the other. I said oil was $61, gold $3,246 per ounce. Goldman Sachs increased their target to $3,700 for the gold. May very well happen. Personally, I went out of gold after raking in a nice strong profit. Buying gold at 1,600, selling at 2,950, converted in euro, and ever since the US dollar has weakened almost 10%, so I am very close to the same levels. I do still believe in gold, as I told you, I believe in gold, but I think I can take more out in more higher risk, so I sold my gold. I invested into stocks like Nvidia, and I made much more than whatever gold made last week. 10-year Treasury yield crawl up to 4.49 last week after China selling off bonds. And now everyone is screaming that this can cause a huge disruption and chaos for the United States. I do not believe so at all, because China doesn't sit on too huge amount of US treasuries. So personally, I don't see that. Let them just use the cards they have. We will see how it will play out. I'm pretty sure that the 10-year Treasury yield will plunge downwards. It might be a little stocky up here around 4.49, but it was much higher than that during the worst last 4 years. So we are still pushing 10-year Treasury yield down. Yes, it had a huge move upwards after going down over the last 3-4 months. I think we will just see it continue downwards. Then there is the 8 stocks. We're getting very close to the end of the podcast. What is left? And if you haven't liked it and you like it, please remember to like and even comment for the YouTube version. Make it help it grow. 2 things that remain is the 8 stocks. How did the 8 stocks that say gave buy signals last week go? And what about 8 new stocks before we end with the $1,000 challenge? Last week I had 8 stocks. One of them actually turned out to be already a bought up company. So sorry about that. That was Alter. But the 7 other stocks did good except one, because MicroAlgo fell by 26% last week. And that was the only stock that fell. The rest of them went up. Casey up 13%, and the others 12, 8, 9, 15, ending in a plus, but it did not beat Nasdaq overall due to MicroAlgo. If you're new, just give me a short recap. The 8 signals are 8 signals that my systems, which I'm building and keep continuing improving every week, so I list them here, and we just say that okay, I'll buy them on Monday, I'll sell them on Friday. So I just look at the opening price on Monday and the end price on Friday. That's how I do. I do not put any stop loss or anything among these stocks. I'm just showing you how I'm building system, trying to beat the market and improving. So you are actually on a live journey with me, in this case, learning from week to week. Anyway, the 8 weeks of the stocks, they are here, and again they will be presented by AI.
Absolutely. First, Casey's, a consumer cyclic company known for operating convenience stores and offering prepared foods. Second, Elbit Systems, in the industrial sector, specializes in defense electronics and systems. Third, Exigam, a major player in the utilities sector, focused on energy generation and distribution. Fourth, Alignment Healthcare, ALHC, a healthcare company providing technology-enabled care solutions. Fifth, Sportradar, Sarad, a technology company specializing in sports data and digital content. Sixth, Mercury Systems, MRCY, another industrial sector company focused on advanced electronics for aerospace and defense. Seventh, Goodyear, GT, a well-known consumer cyclic company famous for its tire manufacturing. Eighth, Sprott Gold Equity Investor, a financial sector stock focusing on investments in gold-related assets.
Then it is the $1,000 challenge, and that one has been a struggle for sure. $1,000 grew all the way up to almost 4,000, and I did a few mistakes pushing it downwards, and NEO was the last big investment I got into at $5.10, ending last week at $3.52. Down, brutally down. But I believe NEO will go for an upturn. I actually put quite much money into NEO, and I'm not talking about the $1,000 challenge. But the current situation of the $1,000 challenge is that it sits at $2,013.45. So $1,000 has grown to $2,013.45, but we were up at almost 4,000. But this is the game when you play with high risk stocks, and we will continue this game. I will sit in NEO because I am sure NEO will pop up. It's totally undervalued, but markets decide. More hassle with China can keep pushing the stock down. More issues, but I am a strong believer in EV. I didn't mention the major news of the week because there really is no big news. Tuesday will be import and export price index numbers, and Thursday will be jobless claim numbers. There are no big news indeed. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Trading Tips with Jim. I hope you will be back next week when I will be back and tell you exactly what went on with the 8 stocks that I just gave you with buy signals, how I'm doing personally, and how the market behave. I will give you next week also the worst and the best case scenario along with news, quarter results, and other things that you might trade on. More than anything, I hope you will have a green week. I hope you will have a super week, and by the end of the week that your portfolio will be much better off than it was in the beginning of the week. Until next week, just have a good week. Bye.
Welcome to StockInvest.us Stock Analysis. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.us. By using the information you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.